Captain's log. Year 194. Summer. We discovered the ship iron chains adrift in the early afternoon. It is unknown what exactly happened to its crew. The only 3 survivors, 3 fillies, claimed it was a plague. The only bodies that were found were all locked away in the brig, twisted in process that told my crew that their deaths were painful and slow. 2 of the fillies looked to be slaves, but neither of them had said a word despite them having tongues. The third, a Victoria Rosary, claimed to be the daughter of Captain Rosary. She is well-spoken and has a grace to her that is rare to see among ponies of the fleet. I've taken her into my home for the time being, and maybe she'll rub off on my son. Captain Blackpowder Blast, of the ship Blackwater. With the captain and her guards dead, the rooms became free for all to looting. Taking back my cutlass from Blackpowder's chest, I used the bed sheets to clean off the blood, making the sheets the first thing that I claimed. The nights can get cold, so it would help to keep them warm. In truth, I wanted the whole bed, but as things were going, I'd have to share it. For such an uptight man, Blackpowder did have a good sense of accessories. Springbox had jumped at the first chance of getting first dibs on the captain's bedroom. 2 had a limp had slowed her down, levitating a necklace over to herself. It clashed with the bloody bandage that currently covered her. What do you think, Trip? Trip Boom was much in the same shape as Springbox, though without the limp. I think you should wash some of the blood off yourself first. She stuck her tongue out at him, and he rolled his eyes. Hey, kid, I think I found something you might like. I wrapped the bedsheets around me, making a crude dress. Trip Boom was at Blackpowder's desk, rummaging through the bunches of paperwork. What is it? He opened up a folded piece of paper, which being wider than the desk and full of dotted lines. From its label, it's called a star chart. Seeing as that's your name, might as well say it's already yours. He rummaged through a drawer and pulled out a few more items. You might as well take whatever else be in here. Just don't go asking me how to use any of it. Trip Boom stepped away from the desk, refocusing on the rum cabinet. In the drawer was a few pieces of paper, a book that didn't look like scripture, and some sort of contraption. Picking up the book, I flipped through the pages, and inside was a whole lot of notes and sketches. From the first page, the book looked like it belonged to a navigator known as Dead Reckoning. The page after that was a sort of instruction of how to read the star chart and use a sextant. Looking at the metal contraption, I guessed it was the sextant. Taking a quick look at the other pieces of paper, they turned out to all be maps. One of the maps had Equestria. I remember Prism Paint saying she was from Equestria. So, if I gave her this map, it would help her find her way home. Raiding time's over! Time to eat! Shouted a brigader. Too much cheer. Trip Boom trotted by, dropping my saddlebags next to me. Almost forgot to give you this, and don't worry, no pony took anything from it. His stomach grumbled, and he trotted off to the room. Springbox stopped over after he left. A star charter, ahoy! If you want me to teach you a few tricks, come see me tonight. Trust me, it'll be fun. She winked and stepped out of the room. That made my cheeks flush. Looking at all the star charting gear again, it felt odd to me. Taking a deep breath, I shoved it all in my bags and stepped out of the room. The gang was already clearing out the area, and the bodies of the guards all stacked on top of each other. Anything not bolted down had been thrown in one of the many piles. Waiting for a little longer, the area quickly emptied of ponies, and I walked to the hole in the wall. Prism Paint, be you there? I waited there, the wind blowing through my mane. We are not happy that you've gotten yourself into more danger. We had to remind ourselves that you are not. Never mind, are you okay? I smiled. Better than okay. We did it. No more captain or her guards. With Victoria in charge, life's going to get better. I know it. I felt Prism Paint's magic wrap around me and lift me up. That's good to hear. But we can talk elsewhere. There is more death here than we care for. I nodded, and I felt a softness of her back under me. Invisible, we flew away from the room and higher up. Prism took me to the roof of the tower, where only the noise was the cold wind. After all the fighting and excitement, it felt strange for everything to be so peaceful. I couldn't help but feel nervous about it. Are you okay, Star? Prism Paint's soft voice cut through the sound of the wind. She became visible once more. Her large blue body still had that regal feel to it. Jumping off of her, I took off my saddlebags. I think so. I'm just feeling a little sleepy. I opened up the saddlebag and located the maps. I did a lot of stuff today. Nodding, Prism Paint stepped closer. And that you did. We were so very worried after we got separated. We tried to find you after that, but you never arrived in Hull Town? After the fighting picked up, we guessed that you were with the main group. Aye! Pulling out one of the maps, but it caught the wind and blew out of my hooves. Luckily, Prism Paint caught it with her magic. You said that you came from Equestria. Well, I found some maps. One of them had Equestria on it, so maybe you can use that to find your way home? You did save me twice, so I think it's the least I can do. She pulled out a few other maps, opening them, looking them over. Prism Paint sighed. Thank you, but... She looked away. But without knowing where we are, and which direction we are heading, we are still just as lost. I dove into my bag, pulling out Dead Reckoning's book. Maybe it's in here. Take a look. Placing the map back in my bags, Prism levitated the book to herself. Flipping through the pages of the book, she looked intelligent and capable. The odd thing was that she had the book upside down. You have the book upside down. Prism sighed and placed the book back into my hooves. Sorry, but it's a bit embarrassing to say this. We don't know how to read. We've only ever had picture books with rainbows on it. But every pony knows how to read. We read the good book every day. Don't you? Prism shook her head. There's not many books left in Equestria. Well, one's not burned and rotted. She fluttered her wings and smiled at me. Say, maybe you can read it for us, if you have the time. I looked over the edge of the tower. Every pony was probably digging into the food by now. My stomach grumbled at the thought. If you're hungry, we'll still have the food you took earlier. She levitated a pineapple from her bag. I thought about it for a moment, and decided it will do. Thanks. We'll cut this up for you. The pineapple tasted better than I remembered. I think it was because she was feeding me small slices as I read out loud. Prism was also shielding me from the wind and providing light for me. It felt nice. Dead Reckoning's writing was a bit hard to read at first, but I quickly got used to it. It was not like the fluid scribbles I often saw unicorns do with their magic. It was more rough, like a pony writing with her mouth. This led me to believe that Dead Reckoning was an earth pony. Along with the writing Dead Reckoning had included, there were a lot of detailed sketches that helped me understand what I was reading. All the notes about using the sextant was the most detailed thing I ever saw, but also easy to understand. Prism even helped me use the actual sextant that I had in my bag, which helped me even more to understand how it worked. The star chart was simply meant for locating where I was in the world, but was only useful at night when the stars were out. Before I read more of the book, the more I understood about how complicated it could be, and how to use it with the sextant. Last among the notes was about using the maps, and how they worked with the star chart. If I combined the three, I may not be able to locate exactly where I was, but I could get close. Truth be told, I actually wanted to try it out when the stars were out. I found myself yawning at the end. Did you get the rest of... I yawned again. That Prism? She giggled. Sorry, but you actually stopped reading out loud some time ago. What? Why didn't you tell me? Now I'm going to have to read it to you all again. She diverted her gaze. Well, you looked so engrossed in it, we didn't want to bother you. Really? She was the one who needed to know how to get home. That's Yawn. Stupid. She pulled her wing to pull me closer, which drew my attention to the sky. It was night now. I'd read the book until day had turned to night. Using her magic, she took the book and placed it back into my bag. Why don't you get some sleep? We can finish in the morning. I wanted to protest, but she was so warm, and I was just so damn tired. It didn't help that she started to sing. Hush now, quiet now, it's time to lay your sleepy head. Hush now, quiet now, it's time to go to bed. Drifting off to sleep, leave the day behind you. Drifting off to sleep, let the joy of dreamland find you. I awoke to the feeling of being dragged along the floor. Let us go! Let us go! It was Prism Paint, shouting in a panic. Getting up, I saw her covered in a net, 3 lassos around her neck. The lassos were being held by a Pegasus each, one of which was Carving Doll. The net held her wings in place, and whenever she tried to flap, her wings only became more tangled. Prism even tried to turn invisible, but the net outlined her perfectly. Looking at me, I saw puppet strings with my tail in her magic. What's going on, puppet? She ruffled my mane. Thanks to you, we now have something to give the fleet. By capturing this false idol, we can become untouchable to the fleet. We're no longer some ragtag gang. We became holy crusaders. Puppet String held a hoof over my mouth as she giggled. I looked back to Prism Paint, my heart pounding. She was looking back at me, no longer fighting back. Do not blame yourself. You should have seen this coming. I looked around to see if any pony had hurt her. It looked like no pony did. Don't do anything rash, Star. We wish to not see you getting hurt anymore. I held myself back. I wanted to say something, do something, but the more I looked around, the more Corps Brigade I saw. They had captured her. No, we had captured Prism Paint. Tie the demon up, every pony! Carving Doll, her voice having humored tone to it. The 3 Pegasi dove in and began wrapping up Prism Paint in the rope, mostly to keep her wings down. When they were done, everything was silent. Even the wind had stopped. The only sound I could see or hear was the sound of hooves on steel, which was coming down the stairs. Victoria came into view, and behind her were the followers of Thorn. And that's the demon! That's the one I saw! It was the sister that Prism had frightened so hard that she had pissed herself. She had the biggest grin on her face. Now that we've captured the demon for you, can you guarantee the safety of my people? Victoria was talking to one of the more important-looking sisters, whose jaw looked like it was just unhinged and hit the floor. The rest of the onlooking sisters pushed her jaw back into her mouth. Guarantee I, of course. The sister slowly trotted closer to Prism and reached out to touch her with a hoof. A real living, breathing demon. Never did I think I would see it in my own lifetime. The sister took a step back. Every pony, let's move this monstrosity to the chapel. The other ponies took hold of the ropes and held their guns at the ready. The rest led Prism away. Puppet Strings opened my bag and pulled out some device with some sensor talisman attached to it. It was a good thing we put this into your bag, or we might not have found out where the demon had taken you. Can't have some monster flying off with our newest little sister now, can we? I looked at the devices and looked back to Prism. I sat there, frozen, as Prism was led down to the tower, out of sight. Dumbstruck, I felt Victoria hug me. I knew you could do it. I knew it. When that sister came looking for me, I knew we had our chance. Thanks to you, we are now truly owners of the ship. No, why not just the ship? She started laughing. Our destiny is so much grander than that. Just one ship. She let go of me. I could feel magic lifting me up on my feet. Come now. I have the cooks making us the biggest breakfast. I hope you like pineapples. She walked off, and I followed. We had everything we wanted. I had everything I wanted. But why did my chest hurt so much? Quest start. Hard choice.